What's up, YouTube? What's up, Family Liberty? Drill Sergeant, aka Admin Doug here. I have a story that needs to be told because a lie unchallenged becomes the truth. And the story starts here. Ksenia Petrova didn't come to America to be a martyr. She came here to study how life repairs itself, believe it or not. Irony of all ironies that someone who devoted their life to resisting death could so easily be swept up by a system designed for death itself. At just 30 years old, she was already pushing the boundaries of what we think is possible in biology. Age reversal, cellular regeneration. Petrova didn't just study science, she lived it. She reportedly told people that she wouldn't mind being in prison for life if only she could keep doing her research from behind bars. That's not the kind of thing most people say. YouTube. The thing is, though, none of that mattered when she was flagged on her way back into the country from a short research visit in France. In her luggage was several vials of frog embryos. In the past, there had been attempts to bring the embryos to the U.S., but each time they arrived completely thawed and unusable. On the request of her supervisor, she brought them along on her person instead. And now, she's facing deportation back to a country where she risks once again being imprisoned by the Putin regime for her criticism. I don't think I need to tell you what happens to political dissents in Putin's empire. Well, pretty much the same thing that's going to be happening to political dissents here in Trump's empire. I digress. The absurdity here is profound. We're punishing someone for bringing life across a border, for carrying the raw materials of discovery into a nation that claims to worship innovation, or used to at least. And what are we giving her in return? Torture, maybe even death. Instead of handling the situation like responsible people, reasonable adults, DHS officials handed her over to ICE. We live under a system where border agents have the power to unilaterally destroy someone's life over a misunderstood form. It punishes first, justifies later, if ever. And it's become so normalized that we don't even see it. We just read the headline that say, detained for frog embryos, quote unquote, and then blink in confusion as if something must be broken to let this happen. Like it's a pothole in the road that we can just patch it up. No, it's not. The system was built to do this. Exactly this. It's built to disappear people, built to terrify and destabilize, built to extract labor and obedience and silence, all for the sake of profit, and for some, all for the sake of hate. Quite frankly, one of the biggest changes in my lifetime is that completely predictable motivator of profit is no longer the only one. Hate is actually more of a motivator, or at least as much, in an administration with, say, Stephen Miller in it. You still unsure? You don't know what it's like. I know. You see, here's what happens once ICE gets its claws into someone like Petrova. You're funneled into a legal black hole. You have no right to a court-appointed lawyer. You may not even be told what's happening. Many are held in privately run detention centers where companies like GEO Group and Core Civic make profit off of every single person that they can chuck into a cage. And these centers cut costs wherever they can. Food, healthcare, basic hygiene, and they operate with very little oversight. This grotesque system is not designed for temporary processing. It is designed to grind people down, psychological warfare via flickering fluorescent lights and unbroken schedules. Deliberate uncertainty is the name of the game. You have your hearing delayed. Again, you miss your lawyer's call. You're handed forms to sign that you can't even read. You sleep under a tattered Mylar blanket and wake up to a wannabe Gestapo thug screaming in your face about paperwork. This is about creating a deterrent, not just to the person inside, but to everyone watching at home, that it can happen to you. And the truth is, it can. Ksenia Petrova has a name, a face, a story. She has headlines. She has scientists rallying behind her. She even has senators and representatives supporting her. Why? Well, because she checks all the boxes that force the liberal to look twice. Because she's white and because she's a scientist. She fits the mold of a sympathetic victim, which in a country where empathy is filtered through race and status is a hell of a privilege. We know her name because of that privilege. That's it. But where are the names of the 48 people who were disappeared by ICE in New Mexico back in March? 48 human beings arrested in what ICE publicly framed as a crackdown on serious offenders, and yet no one can seem to find them. Advocacy groups, the ones who always have to clean up after state violence, reported that they couldn't identify a single one of them. Just gone. No senator, no representative. No one there to give that story the headline it deserves. This didn't make a headline the way the Petrova did. They disappeared not just from physical space, but from emotional space, from the public's bandwidth for concern. Petrova's story is tragic, yes, but it's also a rupture in the normal flow of American empathy. That's why we hear it. It's a rupture in that normal flow. It's rare enough to get people to even blink on a normal occasion. In America, empathy is a luxury good. And like all luxury goods, it's reserved for those who can afford it, or more accurately, for those whose appearance and social value match the expectations of the people watching the injustice unfold. That's the context. That's why her story landed so strongly for some. She wasn't supposed to be the one in the cage. It disrupts the internal narrative that so many people with privilege cling to, that the system, while flawed, only targets people who are somehow deserving of it. The lie that the border enforcement is about dangerous criminals, that immigration detention is a regrettable necessity, that something separates those people from us. It's the same reason why Mexican Americans, Cuban Americans voted against themselves, their own people, because they got a little bit of privilege and they're feeling it. And the first thing they say to a camera while being interviewed by the same people who hate them is, "I'm not like those ones coming across the border now. They're all criminals." It really helps to buoy that privileged spirit. So they drink it in and they believe it. And then someone like Petrova gets snatched, and it short-circuits the myth. Suddenly, the veil slips. Suddenly, the panic sets in. If it can happen to her, ho. Commence the pearl clutching. But here's the thing. YouTube, Family Liberty, it could have always happened to you. You were never protected by justice. You were protected by probability. That's it. And by the selective attention of a society that still sees whiteness and status as some kind of moral armor. Meanwhile, Petrova, the liberal brain, can imagine her in your lab. You can imagine her in your workplace, your friend circle. And so now when it's her, suddenly it's a tragedy. And again, the liberal mind is not some MAGA, twisted, brainwashed test tube voter. This is a human response that we have to overcome. This is a human response that we have to recognize. That's why I'm telling this story. It's not an indictment. It's a recognition. And I'll repeat again how I started. A lie, unchallenged, becomes the truth. And the truth is the tragedy of Petrova. That's not empathy. That's narcissism, disguised as concern. Once Biden arrived in office, to many of us, there was hope for change, but it was always a false hope. While the tone of the machine softened, the engine underneath remained the same. The camp stayed open, right? ICE continued to detain people indefinitely, right? Asylum seekers were still deported en masse. The system still criminalized migration, still privileged whiteness, and still turned human movement and existence into a threat. For years, fucking decades, the signs were bright red and screaming, and damn near not a single person seemed to care. Maybe one, maybe two, but none of it reached us, the collective. Perhaps we didn't recognize the people it was happening to. Maybe they didn't look like us. And now for the more painful layer of that statement, the group that has the most privilege and the most power, maybe they didn't look like you. So now what's happening to someone who does? We're long past the time for warnings. This is the aftermath of all the warnings you didn't listen to. And now that you've seen it, what are you going to do? Will you just feel bad and move on? Will you share an article? Maybe call a representative as if that does anything more than a statement of thoughts and prayers, if you only retreat back into the illusion that this was just one big mistake after the call? Or will you finally understand that the machine didn't malfunction, that it's operating exactly as designed? There's only complicity or resistance. So let this be your threshold. Safety is the lie. This is the challenge to that lie. The truth is, no one is safe. Stand up, make the calls, yes, but realize that's only a single cog in a machine that's much bigger. Where will you march? Who will you support? You can't march? Will you babysit somebody's kid while they go march? Will you do a carpool? Can you run a phone line? What can you do? What can you do? The excuses for what you can't do are long over, long gone. What can you do? Who will you support? Where will your dollars go? Where will you withhold those dollars from? What can you do in the realization that no one is safe as long as this system is the way that it is? Whether or not Trump was in office, but now that he's here, I'll stop there. Now, if you made it all the way to the end without giving up, you can type right down there in the comment section, Drill Sergeant, I made it, Drill Sergeant, and you know exactly what time it is.
And now it's time for the throw punch!